So, Rebirth without Materia will be taking just a little teensy bit longer in the meantime as something of an intermission. And before you ask, no, I did not make this video just for that joke. Can I beat Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission without using Materia? Just like in the Remake Challenge and the Crisis Core Challenge, which you should totally watch those two if you haven't already, I cannot use Materias of any variety, including summons. Everything else is fair game. Unlike Remake, there is no introduction to this. We immediately bench all of our Materia because I hate the pretty colours. On top of that, we redeem all the gift box stuff that comes with the PC release. Most of it is worthless summons and equipment, unfortunately. However, there is one weapon called the Star. While we might not even use this ability, it's always better to get it than to not. Yuffie is an incredibly versatile fighter, even without equipping any materia, and has a wide range of useful abilities. One of which is her ninjutsu, which she can add elemental effects to, effectively letting us hit elemental weaknesses without the use of materia. Mastery of this mechanic is essential if we wish to stand a chance against the later enemies and bosses. Fire is effective for smaller monsters and human enemies. Ice is effective for the large monsters. Wind is effective for mechanical enemies, and wind is finally effective for flying enemies. It is not the concrete definitive weaknesses, but usually what the enemies will be weak to, so follow these guidelines and we should be alright. After learning the ninjutsu ability, we then equip Star to learn the Cactuar Caper ability. For our upgrades, I've made a little visual aid now. Feel free to pause if you want to find out exactly what we spend our points on, and tell me if you find these little things helpful. We go through the slums and play some Fort Condor. If you want to play more Fort Condor, feel free. It's pretty fun, but it doesn't actually have an impact on the challenge we're currently doing, so I didn't. We buy Yuffie a Supreme Bracer, which will give her lots of physical defense. Then we meet Sonon, and he joins the party. We then begin the search for the old Snappers Flyers, which for 5 are pretty easy and require next to no effort. However, one is in the factory. Before we go off, there's one vendor in the north that sells potions at a massive discount, so we need to stock up here first. We find the boomerang and begin learning Brumal form. A few of Yuffie's weapons give bonuses for a perfect guard. The boomerang gives barrier and later mana wall, which halves all damage taken. We find a vending machine and sell a lot of stuff to it, which how you sell things to a vending machine is beyond my pay grade. Now that we have Sonon, we can synergize with him. This will combine our ATB attacks and he will follow up on every one of our basic attacks. We find the last of the flyers and return to get our reward, a magnified materia. Very helpful. After all those side activities, we find Nao, who sends us off to collect IDs, but not before someone insults Yuffie.
Hey! What am I? Chopped liver?
Kid doesn't need to hear this. You'll be a good girl and cover your ears, okay?
Going through the rest of the chapter, we find the Steel Reaper, which teaches us banishment, and its perfect guard ability is regen. We ended up going for the Steel Reaper for the added attack, and the regen ability isn't so bad. After continuing throughout this area, we get to a minigame. You need to try and get as many items here as you can. While it isn't bad if you don't, I think we ended up getting about 50 high potions just for free. This is what we ended up upgrading and equipping after a little Final Fantasy XIII level design. We go on to fight Gigantipede. We want to immediately equip Lightning Ninjutsu because it's a robot. We will target the tail to try to stagger it. Try to get a perfect guard early so that you get your passive ability. It will begin launching drones, which we need to destroy fast so that the missiles don't launch. Keep up the assault, and when it spawns the drones, make sure we take them out. Repeat this for a little bit and eventually it will go down. Finally, we go on to defeat Ramuh. He's weak to wind, so we use that against him with the wind ninjutsu. Make sure you don't get hit with his swervy attack and he should go down. While I can't use the materia, it's a tradition just to get it. We enter the Shinra building and fight through a few waves of enemies. We continue fighting through the building until we get to a minigame. While it has no impact on the challenge, we decide to do it anyway. We do as many windstorms as we can, charging up banishment, and at the end we unleash a full banishment and we get all the rewards. After, we do the soldier training level of the minigame, which we just repeat what we did. We don't end up getting all the rewards, but it's not like we can sell this materia anyway. Oops. We fight through a lot of enemies until we get into the testing area. This gives us a choice of who we want to fight next. Any of these choices is alright, just go for whatever you want to fight really. After all this, we go head to head with Scarlet, who is no pushover. She will begin by summoning turrets, which we can use the lightning ninjutsu on. All these enemies in this fight are going to be weak to lightning, so we keep that in mind and keep equipping our lightning ninjutsu whenever it fades. Scarlet will also change her weapons throughout the battle after they've taken enough damage. She has 2 swords, Marco cannons, and a sword and a shield. We keep focusing on the weapons and try to stagger her. If you can get perfect guards, try to go for it, but you cannot get a perfect guard on a ranged attack in this game. We keep going at it until she has been defeated, only for her to summon the Deep Ground. We let Sonon take them on while we heal ourselves. Nero gives everyone goo, and we fight through the Shinra simulator. To attack the projector, we need to first defeat the diabolical creation. We want to focus on physical attacks to stagger it, so then we can attack the projector. We defeat the projector and ready ourselves for the final boss of the DLC chapter, Nero. This was our final setup, and these were the upgrades that we used. And finally, we go to face Nero. Nero is very quick and has several wide, hard-hitting attacks. His first phase is easy enough. Try to remain at range and try to get a passive ability up. In phase 2, Nero will hasten himself, doubling his attacking potential. We pressure and stagger him, immediately ending phase 2. Phase 3 will allow Nero to drain your HP if he hits you with his attacks, so we need to stay away but also constantly be attacking. Just keep attacking, and if you want, use a haste item or 2. Try to avoid binding talons because Nero will combo you massively afterwards. When Nero casts Dark Matter, you will constantly have your HP drained, so have a lot of potions ready and try to get one of your passive abilities up. For the last phase, target the wings, and if you have a limit break, make sure you use it. After that, Nero is defeated, Sonon dies, Yuffie rides the chocobo, and the challenge is complete.